It's our community. Come on in. We have a very interesting guest, and probably you may never have seen her before, but I assure you, you have seen her work. And her name is Suzanne Berry, and she is a Hallmark greeting card writer. So welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you.
And meet all of our wonderful neighbors in Johnson County. You are a greeting card writer with a degree in English, and with a team of editorial and art directors, you have written about 3,000 cards.
Yes.
That's a heck of a lot of cards. Do you ever stop and think about that and you think, did I do this?
I do. I do.
And you have written more than a dozen small books. And we're going to look at some of those cards, look at some small books, and we're going to kind of tear them apart and see what makes them tick.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. Where do you come up with your inspirations to start with? I mean, 3,000 cards is a lot, and they can't all say the same thing.
That's true. And whenever you think about it, Hallmark's been in business over 100 years, and to try to reinvent a new way to say, I love you, happy birthday, I'm thinking about you. It's kind of a challenge. So as you can see, I'm always collecting ideas.
Well, I have to show you this. I said it's like reading someone's diary to go through this. This is what Suzanne calls her idea book. And if she sees a poem or if she sees something that, see, it all comes apart.
You're showing my dirty laundry, Mary.
That's right. Maybe we should delve deeper into this. But if she sees something that is an inspiration for a card, she writes it in one of her idea books. But it isn't all written in the book, because she said to me, well, sometimes it looks like this.
We're really getting a peek behind the dirty curtain here. You're seeing that so many times I get ideas when I'm sitting in the waiting room, waiting for an appointment.
To have your tooth extracted or something of that sort.
Or a lot of times ideas strike me whenever I'm on the way home from work, actually, or on the way somewhere, and I'll come to a stoplight.
I wonder if your insurance carrier realizes that.
That's a very, very good point. But I'm always scribbling. I always have to have a pen and paper nearby, because I need to scribble a line that came to me, or just a word that I want to do something with, or that will jog my memory.
Or color that you see, perhaps, that you would like to include?
Sometimes a visual. That can always get to a really rich place with your writing if you can incorporate some kind of visual idea with your writing.
Do you draw? Are you an artist besides?
I would not want to offend my very esteemed artist colleagues at Hallmark and say that I'm an artist.
Because they might see this.
I grew up, actually my grandmother was an art teacher, and so I grew up around creativity my whole life, and we would have art lessons and music lessons every day after school, but I do not fancy myself an artist. I'm
one of your colleagues has said, you know, most people can come up with a joke, and a great joke, but can you do it every day and many times a day?
That's exactly true.
That's the whole point.
Right.
And you are in the same boat as they are with the sentiments that you write on cards. Do you have a specialty of some sort that you?
I do a little bit of everything. Sometimes I write even humor or social media posts for Hallmark, but really the bread and butter for me is some of the classic greeting cards that you think of whenever you think of Hallmark. They're really close, warm, emotional relationships, especially with our moms and our sisters. If there's any specialty I have, it's probably around Mother's Day or just the women in our lives. Those are the lines that I work on.
Did you choose that specialty, or did it choose you?
I think it chose me. I think it chose me. That's just naturally where I get inspired a lot. I had some wonderful, still do have some wonderful women in my life. I was raised by really strong, tough cookies that I think the world of. And
so you dare not weaken.
Yes. And they give me inspiration all the time, the women in my life. So I think that's just where I naturally gravitate. And then over the years, I just did more and more for those lines, and it kind of became my specialty.
So you're just a semi-generalist?
Yes, yes.
Well, you know, it's interesting because you got a whole book of ideas and you think about this, I'm sure, quite a bit. But the point is, will the card sell? Will the book sell? Whatever it is, because after all, Hallmark is in business to make money. So I'm wondering if there are any particular words that you need to stay away from.
Well, what we try to do is kind of a very fine line that we're trying to hit between being very universal, so a lot of people can buy the card. We can't make it just for you, Mary.
That's right.
You know, we need to make it so lots of people
That's
respond
right.
to it.
That's right.
But at the same time, I think the Hallmark moment a lot of people have is whenever they find a card or they receive a card and they think, oh my gosh, how did Hallmark know? That's what my sister and I joke about all the time, or my old buddy from school, you know, that's perfect. How did they know? And so as a writer, what I'm trying to do is find those really powerful universals that feel really special to you and your friend or your loved one, but actually a lot of people share that common connection.
Well, that's right. Sometimes you think you're the only person that has, but it's not really true.
Right.
So there is not any particular word that has a red light on it that you must not include, or that is not.
We don't have a list of words we can't use.
That's well, or that aren't smart to use. I mean, you could use them, but they don't. Yeah.
But we do.
Do you
try
have
to
words
keep,
that you tend to use that are kind of hit the mark?
You know, here's a word that kind of hits the mark. Unique. Think about it.
Yeah.
Every single person is unique in a way, and yet when you hear that word,
you think they're talking about me.
Yeah. Or you think about your friend who's unique, and I may just put the word unique on the card, but you fill in the rest of the story in your own mind and in your heart and your memories of that person, and so you're thinking, oh gosh, yes, she's unique in her sense of humor and her artistic flair and the way that she's a wonderful cook. And I'm not saying all of that on the card, but I'm just saying
unique.
You're a unique person, and you fill in the rest.
But within that word, there's a lot of mental images that arise.
Sure, right.
Well, that's kind of interesting because, of course, that's one reason why there are 150,000 different cards to choose from in the Hallmark line, because, you know, I know when I go pick a card, it takes me forever because I need to find just the right one.
Right.
And there's more, the words do attract me, but also what the card looks like. So the whole wrapping is interesting. How closely do you work with the art staff, or do you just write the words and say, here it is?
It depends. Sometimes we do work with artists and we put together the package all together. But a lot of the times I'm writing the words and the artists are drawing the beautiful picture and other people are pairing them up. But kind of a little proverb that we have around Hallmark is that the person that comes to the card shop, they pick it up because of the way it looks and the artwork. But they
because
buy,
remember, the ads used to be, it's done in the Hallmark manner.
Oh, yes. Right, and the very best.
That's right.
But while you might pick the card up because of how it looks, you actually buy it because of what it says. Because you've probably had the experience where you've picked something up and you think, oh, I love that color, or love that image.
Well, but the first thing that attracts me is usually the color, and then I read the sentiment. And I have to say, we're gonna look at some of these cards, but I want to know if the digital world has changed what you do, or how you do it, or what you say.
It's changed my job a little bit, and probably the greeting card business a little bit. For me, I think we've learned that people in general have shorter attention spans. So we do cards, whereas I think Hallmark used to do beautiful long poetry over several panels of cardstock. Now we do a whole lot more that's shorter or kind of medium length, and I think what you've got there is a good example.
Well, see, this is one that attracts. She brought a whole bunch of cards, and this is one that attracted me. It says, "Good friends are like your go-to jeans," but the color is really nice, and inside it talks about you're dependable. You're
you compliment me in all the right ways.
That's right. See, but see that hits home.
Right.
And the idea is to make cards for thousands that are personalized for one.
Absolutely. And we all know that pair of jeans that we go to that are our favorite. But in fact, there's so many women that can relate to that. We all have that.
This one is interesting because of the verse that I thought was something that you might like to. It says, sing your song and speak your mind and love yourself. I think in this world that it's somewhat chaotic and it's very complicated. No matter what you think or what you believe or whatever, the world is extremely complicated.
It is.
And it's hard, I think, to love oneself. I mean, you know, the suicide rate is up, the mental illness is prevalent. And so to accept and to love oneself is, and if somebody says that to you, it's important.
Absolutely.
And so I think that this one, the other one, I was attracted by the color.
Right.
This one, I was attracted, it says, lend a hand, keep your cool, trust your heart, and know your worth. And I was attracted by that sentiment. So,
Absolutely.
you know, each card is attractive in, do you ever suggest color?
Sometimes I do, or I might, in the case of the go-to jeans card, obviously, I was thinking.
Is that your pair of jeans?
That is not my, that's actually not quite my style. I'm not that blingy, but, but it's very eye-catching.
Yeah.
I might suggest an image, and then they will find an artist that's done that kind of artwork and put it all together.
Well, this one's interesting. This is from a husband to his wife, wishing her a happy birthday. And of course, the peony is very beautiful. And he tells her that she's his strength and his love, and she's tough. I mean, those are three different words, you know, and each kind of hits their own particular note. If you have any really interesting stories about any of these, you need to pipe up here.
Oh,
Suzanne.
absolutely.
But yeah, this one?
Well, in this case, I think you mentioned before we got started just kind of your curiosity about me writing from a man's perspective.
Yeah.
That's kind of something that you don't think about whenever you see those greeting cards. But really, part of my job as a writer is to put myself into everyone else's shoes. These cards aren't about Suzanne's, what she wants to say. I'm trying to give a voice to what other people want to say to each other. And so that is half of my job, really, is understanding what people want to say. And sometimes that's a little bit different between men and women.
Well, it is, and as you may recall, when I picked these cards, Suzanne brought a lot of them that we just don't have time to look at them all, but they're mostly gender specific toward women.
Yes.
And this one I picked because it was gender specific from a man to a woman.
Right.
And so it was a different perspective entirely. So that's why I picked this one.
Well, and this one I wanted to show just because the piece of writing starts out saying, I love you. They're only 3 words, but when I say them, this is what I mean. And it goes on to elaborate
comfort,
on
my laughter, my closest friend, and my strength when times are tough. And I'll say that's important to a woman.
Absolutely.
If it's the truth.
Absolutely. And like we started out by saying, my job every day is to come up with new ways to say, I love you, I care about you, and that's a card that kind of does that. Well, explains
that's right.
it.
Now this is the opposite. This is from a woman to a man, and she says, you're my kind of man. Now, everybody wants to hear that.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a man or a woman or a child, you're my kind of person.
Right,
you know?
right.
So right away, we've earned a few points right there.
We've hooked you.
That's right.
You're ready
That's
to
right.
see what it says inside.
That's right. You work hard, it says. You take care of the people you love. You do the right thing, even when it's not the easy thing. And you treat me just like I want to be treated. You know, in some ways, I think you're telling the reader what you want them to pick up on. In other words, you're feeding them the information that makes them feel good. I guess that's a better way to say it.
Well, and I want to make sure that I'm saying both what the sender, we call the person giving the card, what that person wants to say and what they really feel at these different occasions, but also what the receiver really wants to hear. And hopefully those are all things that your man really will feel good about hearing from you.
I'm not sure who sends this to whom, but it's called The Story of Love and Light. And it's kind of interesting because it has a small rock in the, and I looked at that and I thought, those of you who, we got to turn it so you can see it, there it goes. And that's the sun, I assume, the light. And it says, and I'm going to very carefully open this up because I want to read you what it says. And it says, "Where do you go when you leave us at night?" A child once questioned the sun. "You fill up our lives with warmness and light. But then, when you go, we'll have none." So who do I send this card to?
This was part of a collection that we have that's just, we call it our encouragement and support collection of cards. And
The hang in there variety?
the hang in there. And in this case, this is one, I think this was a sympathy piece, even though it's kind of open to whatever you might be going through. But the tokens, it's a collection of cards that the tokens on the front are removable, and they, as you saw, that one has a sunshine. Yeah, you can keep it in your pocket and remember the story that's on the card.
Okay, now, here we are. We have looked at 3 cards. This one is, we call it a hang in there card.
Right.
This one is from a husband or a woman to a man.
Yes.
And this was from a woman to her, probably her husband.
As husband to wife.
Or husband to
No,
wife,
yes,
sorry. So these are all 3 different intended. This is a tough deal because
Day to day, I
yeah,
really have to put on different shoes.
You don't have any that say, "I can't stand the sight of you," I'm sure.
You know, though, we have to think about that sometimes whenever we're writing. Not every relationship is perfect, and it's not perfect all the time.
No, it isn't.
And
No,
so
it
there
isn't.
might be a day that, or a year that maybe Valentine's Day comes when you're not feeling like all the mush and gush. And so we try to make sure that we also have cards that are okay to say just enough.
I send my love. It's a really tough thing to do.
Right, they say just enough. They don't go on and on.
But I'll tell you what else I know, that of late, in the last few years, Hallmark has been making cards for people of color and for different ethnic groups as well. Because we have become more and more cognizant of the fact that we are a country of differences, which are good, to recognize those differences and to, you know, I remember when I was little, there were no dolls of color. They were either Caucasian dolls or no doll at all. But now that's not true.
Right, and I'm proud of the fact that Hallmark does do that. We care
They
very
were some of the
much.
early ones to do that.
Yes, and our goal is to truly represent people and their authentic, real lives. And we try to do that in our words and images, but also in some of the special collections of cards that range from different ethnicities to different religions, even some same-sex cards that we've come out with in the last couple of years.
And same-sex marriage cards, I've noticed.
Yes, absolutely. So our hope is to really celebrate life in all the different ways that it's lived and all the different ways that we love each other, because again, that's the most powerful universal.
Well, and Hallmark's message, still, they always care enough to send the very best and recognize that the very best is somewhat different for different people.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Yeah.
The thing that I like the best, besides the Greek cards, is the books that we call them the small books that you do now. Suzanne has written the words for this book. She didn't do the artwork, but she wrote the words. And this is Under the Moon. Isn't that cute? Under the Same Moon. Tell me something about this book.
Sure. This book I wrote several years ago, and it's been a bestseller. It's been in the line quite a while. And it originally started out as a recordable book, which is an interesting format that Hallmark developed, where you can actually record yourself reading a story to your child or your grandchild.
Interesting you should mention
Yes.
that. Because right here, I have pulled out a recordable book, You Are My Joy. And this is probably from a parent to a child.
It is. It can, or it could be for an aunt to give to
Well,
a niece
right,
or nephew.
right,
or
but an older
grandparent.
person to give to a
Yes,
child.
yeah.
Well, and you said that many of them have been sold to Army personnel or people who are in the armed services, all kinds of.
We've gotten some wonderful letters over the years about people that were deployed or for whatever reason couldn't be there every night to tuck their children into bed.
So big and you live on your dreams.
There goes.
There are so many wonders to see. But know even then, you're my joy and my love, and always forever will be.
Isn't,
It even plays music.
isn't that wonderful? And then we close it. There it goes.
There we go,
I
yes.
thought, oh my goodness, it's going to go on forever. No, but aren't these wonderful? They
Yeah.
are. And the voice of a loved one can be on this book, sent to a child who perhaps is missing that person,
Absolutely.
or maybe a grandparent that doesn't see their child very often.
We've gotten so many touching letters over the years about that very thing, or even people that unfortunately their loved one may have passed away, but they've
They
recorded
sign the voice.
that voice and they just treasure that.
See, I just think that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I was telling Suzanne that when my child was little, Hallmark has been making children's books for a very long time.
Yeah.
And some of his favorite books, and I forgot to bring some of them, I must admit, but some of his very favorites were those Hallmark books, and we read them and read them and read them until I knew them by heart.
I bet you did.
So, see, this is very much like one of the old ones. I says, I see the moon and the moon sees me, and the moon sees somebody that I'd like to see. Please let the light that shines on me shine on the ones I love.
Yes.
I tell you one thing I have noticed, and you can either defend it or reject it or
Okay.
do whatever, but I noticed that so many of these children's books have a rather spiritual base in them. Is that by intent or?
Many of the cards and books that I write tend to have that. That's one thing that I've kind of specialized in. You asked about specialties, and over the years, that's something that I've tried to capture, but not all of our cards and books have that theme.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah.
this is a very cute one. This is the Angels, there we go, Mary's Angels Bedtime Prayers, which I think is so cute. And it says, angels paint the sunset in every brilliant hue. Which shining moments from today were God's best gifts to you? Which encourages the child to say something.
Right, right. That's meant to just kind of spur that end of the day reflection time between parents and child before they may say their goodnight prayers or get tucked in tight.
Well, and it makes the child think about which he or she may be grateful for having happened that day, which I
Right.
think is a good thing.
Right,
And it
right.
says, thank you, Lord, for this good day, for how I got to laugh and play, for people who were nice to me, for neighbors, friends, and family, for things I learned and ways I grew, and new ways I felt close to you. For every minute, big and small, Lord, I'm thankful for it all. Now, the artist for these angels, you said that was
Mary
a very
Hamilton.
special person.
She was very, very special to Hallmark and to a lot of people in the world. Mary Hamilton worked for Hallmark for probably over 60 years. I mean, hard to imagine anyone staying in a profession that long, much less generating artwork for years and years and years that just delighted people. She made little angel ornaments that were a favorite.
But
and-
angels were her
Angels-
specialty.
Yeah.
These are so cute.
And so we've done a series of books and little children's gifts based on her artwork. And
Aren't they cute?
this one just came out. This book just came out this summer.
Yeah, I just think that's so cute.
Yeah.
And this one is a little different. The others are sort of, this is more specific.
Yes.
And this
yeah.
is the very first Easter egg. Now this sells when? Only at certain times, or is this
This was only out at Easter. And
did they take it away in between?
yes, they do. They do. Usually Hallmark stores don't have enough space to keep everything up year
well, that's
round.
true, yeah.
So you'll see some of these types of seasonal products come and go according to the time of year.
And this is awfully cute because it says, in a meadow above with the abuzz with the promise of spring on a hillside not far away, two bunnies were sniffing and hopping along on a beautiful sunshiny day. And I can turn around and you can see those bunnies hopping along.
I just love the artwork in this book.
Oh, I do too. Now, is this a particular, I want to get this off of here so you can see the bunnies. Is the artist who did this a specialty, or does this?
She's an artist at Hallmark, and we worked together on this. This was a case where we worked hand in hand and discussed the different bunnies and what they each looked like and what they each loved to do and what they wore. And we kind of developed the characters from the beginning together. And another kind of fun thing about this one that I love is that I have a niece and two nephews that I think of as kind of the three little bunnies in this book. So
well, they're
they
just
inspired.
very cute bunnies.
Yeah.
You know, it's an interesting thing. I had a guest on the program. She was a child from a very bad family of drug users and whatever. And some of these kids, these were older children, were encouraged to write down their feelings. And so they made them into a book. And they used animals for people. And the rats were the bad people, and the bunnies were all, and the kitties, but so the bunny's an interesting item, I think, because it symbolizes it's okay, it's safe, it's.
Everybody loves bunnies.
Well, not when you eat their flowers,
well,
but yes,
that's true. Maybe not gardeners.
In general, yes, everybody loves bunnies.
Yes.
But I think that the choice of an animal is also extremely important, don't you think so? I do. But
Sometimes
bunnies are all good. Everybody loves bunnies.
Everybody loves them. They're snuggly. And you'll see on greeting cards, a lot of the time we have little critters of different types, bunnies and bears. And sometimes that's because we want to make sure that people can relate to whatever we're depicting. And we don't necessarily want to put a picture of a mom with red hair and blue eyes or something, because you might say, oh, that's not my mom. I don't want that card. So we might put Mama Bear on there, and then everybody kind of relates.
Yeah, that's right. And so it makes it easier to relate. And that's what you're trying to do, is relate to people. You know, people say, well, you know, nobody sends greeting cards anymore. They send e-cards and whatever cards. And I have this feeling that there's something special about a greeting card that I'm not sure it'll ever go away.
I agree with you on that. I think actually in the kind of technological and digital age that we're in, people have worried, oh, does that mean the end of greeting cards or hard copy kinds of mail? And actually, I think it's done something very unexpected in that now it makes those cards and those handwritten messages even more special than they were 15 or 20 years ago.
Well, because to be special, to feel safe, to have somebody out there who cares, that's what it's all about. And I think that as a very special thank you, I have to say Suzanne Berry from Hallmark Greeting Cards, who is a writer of good words, Suzanne, good words. And I appreciate your bringing everything and telling us all how this wonderful good feelings are created. So thanks for coming, and thank you to Hallmark for allowing you to be our guest on It's Our Community, because we're neighbors. And it's nice to meet the neighbors. So thanks for coming. We'll see you soon again.